So, get this. The words had barely left my mouth, still hanging in the air over the half-eaten breadsticks and Chianti at this fancy Italian restaurant. I was looking at my husband, Ben, with this goofy, happy smile on my face. But the reaction I got wasn't the chorus of congratulations I was expecting. Instead, my sister-in-law, Chloe, slammed her fork down so hard the entire table jumped. Her face, which a second ago was just neutral, had crumpled into this mask of pure, tear-streaked rage. She pointed a shaking finger at me from across the table and screamed, her voice cracking, "You did this to hurt me. You announced this here to deliberately, personally hurt me." And then she let out a sob so loud that the waiters froze and the couple at the next table literally stopped chewing. Yeah, that was the moment I announced we were expecting our first baby after 2 years of trying. And honestly, that wasn't even the craziest part of the story. Not by a long shot. To understand how we got to that point, we need to rewind about 6 months. Let me set the stage. There's me, I'm 31. There's my husband, Ben, who is genuinely the most decent, level-headed guy on the planet. Then there's his brother, Tom, and Tom's wife, Chloe, my sister-in-law. For years, Chloe has been, let's call it, the main character. You know the type. If you have a headache, she has a brain tumor. If you get a promotion, she's being sabotaged at her job. Her life is a constant, churning drama, and everyone is expected to play a supporting role. My mother-in-law, Margaret, is the worst enabler. She treats Chloe like a fragile, porcelain doll who might shatter if the wind blows too hard. Ben and I have always just tried to keep our distance, smile and nod, and live our own lives. Ben and I had been trying for a baby for about 2 years. It was a quiet, private struggle full of disappointment and a few false alarms. It was emotionally draining, but we leaned on each other and kept it to ourselves. We didn't want the family's input or, frankly, Chloe's drama. Around a year into our journey, Tom and Chloe announced they were pregnant. We were genuinely happy for them. But true to form, Chloe's pregnancy became the single most important event in the history of the universe. Every conversation, every family dinner was a monologue about her symptoms, her cravings, her appointments. She was insufferable, but we bit our tongues because, it's an exciting time. Then, about 3 months into her pregnancy, she had a miscarriage. And let me be crystal clear, that is a horrible, devastating tragedy. No one should ever have to go through that. When we heard the news, my heart absolutely broke for her and Tom. Ben and I dropped everything, went to their house with food, offered to do anything they needed. The whole family rallied. We all cried with her. We listened. We gave her space. We did everything you're supposed to do. But then, things started to shift. Her very real, very valid grief started to curdle into something else. It became a permanent get-out-of-jail-free card. A weapon. Any event, any celebration, any piece of good news in the family was met with, "Well, it's hard for me to be happy for you right now, because of what I'm going through." Her birthday came a month later, and she insisted on a huge, expensive dinner that everyone else had to pay for because she was too fragile to deal with finances. Okay, fine. Your cousin gets engaged? Chloe has to leave the party in tears because seeing other people's happiness is a trigger. It was a constant, suffocating cloud of her sorrow that she insisted everyone live under. And my mother-in-law, Margaret, just fueled the fire. "Be gentle with Chloe," she'd whisper. "She's been through the unthinkable." We were all walking on eggshells, and the shells were getting thinner every day. Meanwhile, a couple of months after her loss, Ben and I got our miracle. That little plus sign appeared on a test, and we were terrified but ecstatic. We held the news close, not wanting to say anything until we passed the 12-week mark, the so-called safe zone. Those first 3 months were a mix of pure joy and pure anxiety. Every doctor's appointment was a nail-biter. When we finally saw that strong heartbeat on the 12-week ultrasound and the doctor said everything looked perfect, the relief was so overwhelming I just sobbed in the car. We were ready. We were so ready to share our joy. The inciting incident, as they say, was my mother-in-law's birthday dinner. It was at a nice, family-style Italian place. The whole family was there, me, Ben, his parents, Tom, and Chloe. The mood was okay. Chloe was in her usual somber state, picking at her food and sighing dramatically whenever someone laughed too loud, but it was manageable. Ben and I decided this was the perfect time. The family was all together. It was a celebratory occasion for his mom. After the main course, Ben clinked his glass. He had this huge, beautiful smile on his face. "We have something we're really excited to share with everyone," he said. He looked at me, squeezed my hand, and I just beamed and said, "We're pregnant." For a split second, there was joy. My father-in-law boomed, "That's fantastic," and Margaret's eyes lit up. But then all eyes snapped to Chloe. Her face went from 0 to 100 in a nanosecond. The fork slammed down. The tears started. And then came the screaming. "How could you? Here? Tonight? You know what I went through." I was completely stunned. I mean, what was I supposed to say? My mind was just a blank wall of static. Ben jumped in immediately. "Chloe, we're so sorry for your loss, but this is our news. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me," she shrieked, standing up. "You're throwing this in my face. You did this just to be cruel." She grabbed her purse and stormed out of the restaurant, with Tom scrambling after her, throwing a pathetic, apologetic look back at us. The dinner was ruined. My mother-in-law's face had gone from happy to horrified. She just kept shaking her head, muttering, "Oh dear. Oh, the timing. The timing was just all wrong." The joy of our announcement had been completely sucked out of the room, replaced by this thick, awkward, guilty silence. I felt this hot flush of shame, even though I knew, logically, I had done nothing wrong. But that's the power of a professional victim like Chloe. She can make you feel guilty for being happy. That night was just the beginning. The next day, the real escalation began. My phone rang. It was Margaret, my mother-in-law. I answered, expecting maybe an apology on Chloe's behalf, or at least a congratulations. I was so naive. "Sarah," she started, her voice cold and disappointed. "I am so disappointed in you and Ben. What you did last night was incredibly thoughtless and cruel." I was speechless. "What we did? We announced we're having a baby. You know Chloe's state," she said, her voice rising. "You know how fragile she is. To announce it so publicly right in front of her, it was a deliberate act of aggression. You need to call her and you need to apologize." My blood started to boil. Apologize? Apologize for what? For getting pregnant? For being happy? "You need to apologize for your insensitivity," she snapped. "Chloe is in a very dark place, and your flaunting of your good fortune was just salt in the wound. She's my daughter, and I will not have her treated this way." I just said, "Margaret, I am not apologizing for being pregnant," and I hung up the phone. My hands were shaking. I told Ben what happened, and he was livid. He called his mom right back and told her she was out of line and that we deserved an apology from her and Chloe. Of course, that went over like a lead balloon. A few days later, phase 2 of the attack commenced, the social media smear campaign. Chloe posted a long, vague but not vague at all post on Facebook. It was one of those black and white photos of a single candle with a caption that read, "Navigating grief is the loneliest road." It's made even harder when people you thought were family show their true colors. A reminder to everyone, your joy can be someone else's dagger. Please be kind. Some of us are fighting battles you can't imagine. The comments came flooding in from her friends and clueless distant relatives. "Oh honey, what happened? Sending you so much love. You're so strong, Chloe. Shame on whoever hurt you." It was a masterpiece of passive aggression. She never named me, but everyone in the family knew exactly who she was talking about. It was humiliating. I was being painted as this monster, this heartless witch who cackled at other people's pain. My phone started buzzing with texts from cousins and aunts asking, "Is everything okay with Chloe?" I felt like I was going crazy. The final escalation before the breaking point was the family group chat ambush. Margaret created a new WhatsApp group titled Family Healing. Oh, you can just imagine. It was me, Ben, Margaret, Tom, and Chloe. The first message was from Margaret. I think we all need to talk this out and move forward with love and understanding. What followed was a digital firing squad. Chloe sent a novel-length message about how my flamboyant announcement had set her recovery back months. How she was having nightmares. How she couldn't even look at a baby store without breaking down in tears, and it was all my fault. Tom chimed in with, "We just need you guys to understand the depth of our pain." Then came the demands. Margaret suggested that, for Chloe's mental health, Ben and I should agree to some ground rules. Rule number 1, no talk of the pregnancy or the baby at family gatherings. Rule number 2, no baby shower. It would be too painful for Chloe to see me get gifts. Rule number 3, once the baby is born, we were not to post any pictures on social media where Chloe might see them. I stared at my phone screen, my jaw on the floor. They weren't just asking for sensitivity. They were asking me to erase my baby, to hide my joy, to pretend that this wonderful, miraculous thing wasn't happening to us, all to cater to one person's emotional dictatorship. Ben immediately typed back, "This is insane. We are not agreeing to any of this. Sarah has done nothing wrong, and we are going to celebrate our child." And that's when Chloe sent the message that finally broke me. She wrote, "See? This is what I mean. You just don't care about anyone but yourselves. After everything we did for you, after all the support we gave you, this is how you repay us." Support? What support? I was racking my brain. They had never supported us in anything. And then it hit me. I went cold. Absolutely ice cold. It was the last piece of the puzzle, the key that unlocked everything. This brings us to the breaking point. The moment the camel's back didn't just break, it exploded. After that group chat disaster, I was a mess. I was angry, I was hurt, and I was starting to question if I was the bad guy. I was doom scrolling through my phone late at night, unable to sleep, just feeling miserable. I ended up on Tom's Instagram page, just clicking aimlessly. I went back a few months, back to the time right after the miscarriage. And there it was. It was a post from one of Chloe's best friends. A photo album from a girl's trip. A trip to an all-inclusive, 5-star resort in Bali. There were pictures of Chloe in a bikini, sipping a cocktail by an infinity pool. Chloe getting a massage. Chloe laughing with her friends on a sunset cruise. The caption was full of hashtags. Hashtag healing, hashtag self-care, hashtag getaway. The date stamp on the photos? 2 weeks after the miscarriage. 2 weeks. Suddenly, I remembered something else. Right after her loss, Margaret had sent a tearful email to the entire extended family. She said that on top of the emotional devastation, Tom and Chloe were facing unexpected medical bills and wanted to get into specialized grief counseling, but it was all so expensive. She had started a GoFundMe for them. To help them heal, the page said. Ben and I donated $500. Other family members gave what they could. All told, they raised nearly $10,000. $10,000. I felt the air leave my lungs. It wasn't anger anymore. It was this strange, glacial clarity. The medical bills. The grief counseling. It was all a lie. They took our money given in good faith to help them through a tragedy, and she went on a luxury vacation to Bali. The constant victimhood, the weaponized grief, the demands that I hide my own pregnancy, it all snapped into focus. This wasn't about her pain. It was about control. It was about attention. And she had funded her performance with our sympathy and our cash. I woke Ben up. I showed him the pictures. I showed him the GoFundMe page. He just sat there, staring at the phone, his face getting harder and harder until it looked like it was carved from stone. "Okay," he said in a low, dangerous voice. "That's it. We're done." The next day, as if on cue, Margaret called. She wanted to arrange a family summit at her house. A final chance for us to do the right thing and apologize to Chloe in person. Perfect, Ben said into the phone, a chilling smile on his face. We'll be there. And that brings us back to the beginning. Well, almost. The climax wasn't at the restaurant. It was in my mother-in-law's beige, suffocatingly neat living room. We walked in, and the scene was set. Chloe was already on the couch, dabbing at her dry eyes with a tissue. Tom was hovering over her, stroking her hair. Margaret stood there with her arms crossed, looking at us like we were criminals walking to the gallows. "Thank you for coming," Margaret said, as if she were a CEO starting a hostile board meeting. "Chloe has something she wants to say." Chloe looked up, her voice trembling with practiced fragility. I just want to understand why you would want to hurt me so much. I thought we were sisters." I let her finish. I let them all look at me, waiting for my apology. Ben gave my hand a squeeze. Showtime. I took a deep breath and looked directly at Chloe. "You know what, Chloe? You're right. I do owe you an apology," I said. Margaret let out a sigh of relief. Chloe's expression turned smug. "I am sorry," I continued, my voice steady and clear, "that I ever for 1 second believed your grief was genuine. I'm sorry I didn't see you for the manipulative, narcissistic fraud you actually are." The room went absolutely silent. Tom's jaw dropped. Margaret gasped, "Sarah." Chloe's face turned from sad to furious. "How dare you? After everything I've been through." "Oh, you mean your healing journey?" I asked, pulling out my phone. "I was just thinking about that. It must have been so difficult. I can't imagine how you managed to pull yourself together for that all-inclusive trip to Bali 2 weeks after your tragedy." I saw the flicker of panic in her eyes. I don't know what you're talking about." And that's when I delivered the line I'd been practicing in my head all night. The one that started this whole story. "Chloe," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "How much of the $10,000 we all raised for your recovery and grief counseling did you spend on that trip? Because we all gave money we thought was for medical bills, not for your poolside margaritas." You could have heard a pin drop. Margaret looked from me to Chloe, her face a mess of confusion. "What GoFundMe? What Bali trip?" I turned my phone around and showed her the pictures. The infinity pool. The cocktails. The laughing. Then I showed her the GoFundMe page with the list of donors. Her name was at the top. Chloe just imploded. It was no longer sad crying, it was rage crying. "You're a monster. You're digging up my past. That trip was for my mental health. The doctor recommended it." Ben finally spoke up, his voice like ice. "Which doctor, Chloe? The one at the Four Seasons Resort?" "Because we donated to help you. My parents donated. Our family donated. And you lied to all of us. You took our compassion and you literally cashed it in." Tom started stammering. "Now, wait a minute, it wasn't like that." But he had nothing. There was no defense. My father-in-law, who had been silent until now, just stood up, looked at Chloe with a profound sense of disgust, and said, "Is this true, Chloe? Did you use that money for a vacation?" Chloe just sobbed and screamed, "You all hate me. You've always hated me." And that was it for me. I was done. I looked at Ben. He nodded. We stood up. "We're leaving," I said to his parents. "And we're done. We will not be raising our child in this toxic environment. We will not have our baby's life dictated by her lies and her drama. Margaret, you enabled this. Tom, you let it happen. And Chloe, you are the cruelest person I have ever met." We walked out of that house, and as the door clicked shut behind us, I felt this incredible weight lift off my shoulders. It was like I had been holding my breath for years and could finally exhale. The aftermath was exactly what you'd expect. A massive fallout. Margaret tried calling 100 times, leaving voicemails that swung between begging us to think of the family and accusing me of destroying it. We blocked her number. Tom sent Ben a long, rambling text trying to justify the trip, which Ben replied to with a single screenshot of their bank account's GoFundMe deposit. We haven't heard from him since. My father-in-law, to his credit, called us the next day. He apologized profusely. He said he was ashamed and disgusted, and that he and Margaret were having a massive fight about her constant enabling of Chloe. He told us he supported our decision 100% and just wanted to be a grandfather to our baby, no strings attached. So, we went no contact with Chloe, Tom, and Margaret. It was hard at first, but honestly, the peace has been blissful. We had a beautiful baby shower a few months later with my family and the same members of Ben's family. It was full of joy and laughter, with absolutely no mention of Chloe. Our beautiful daughter was born 3 months ago. She is perfect. Ben's dad is the most wonderful, doting grandpa. We send him pictures and videos every day. As for the others, we hear through the grapevine that Chloe is now telling everyone that her toxic family abandoned her in her time of need because of her jealous sister-in-law. I'm sure she's already cooking up her next drama. But you know what? It's not my problem anymore. I'm too busy being happy. So yeah, that's how I ended up blowing up my husband's family over a pregnancy announcement. It was messy, it was ugly, but it was so worth it to protect my own little family. And if you think that's wild, you have got to subscribe, because you will not believe what happened when my own cousin tried to pull a similar stunt at my baby's christening. Trust me, the crazy never stops.